But certainly there has been a shift there. And in some respects, we had a difficult campaign. But in some respects, some of the things I was involved with also are transpiring to be correct. It's not clear yet, of course, whether the Greens and New Zealand First will be in the Parliament. And National has worked quite hard in those areas, as you know.
Why has it happened, Jenny? Why did you lose, do you think? Is it simply pendulum after 9 years of National-led government, or was it the policies? Is there a mood for change? What was it?
Well, I think that Labour campaigned very well on the question of mood for a change. And as we know, historically, it takes a heroic event to be able to stop a 9-year swing. But to be frank, I'm very pleased with the amount of vote we've been able to retain. There's been a lot of prediction that we would be decimated, and indeed some people were predicting landslides earlier in the week. That has not been the case here. In fact, the centre-right vote is very similar to what it was at the last election. And so overall, while I would far have preferred a win for National in terms of forming a National-led government, I'm still very satisfied that we've got a strong base from which to argue a new direction in due course.
When did your heart tell you tonight it was lost, when you were, watching the results come in?
Oh, there wasn't a particular point,
no.
Paul. In fact, it's been an incredibly interesting evening.
Yeah.
There have been seats moving around, and indeed, I don't think we're going to know finally what the result is here tonight. But I felt that it was clear enough that it appears 61 or 62 seats are available to Labour and Alliance. And from my point of view, I didn't want to hold New Zealand up further. I do think that many people want to get to bed, and it was time for us to try and deal with that.
We would like to get to bed, Mrs. Sheppey. I wonder if Mr. Peters might be rather late to attend his gathering, so I think he might be the one we're waiting for.
Yes, I haven't heard what the latest position is in Tauranga.
Well, that's a national victory, we're predicting that. It's fairly tight, but Mr. Peters is still perhaps within grasping distance. But what did Burton say about the loss of the 9th floor job, of the top job in the country?
We haven't even had a chance to discuss it. But look,
well, you're sitting alone in the car for 20 minutes.
That's true, and I was both listening to the radio and thinking about what I was going to say. And we were talking as a family. Look, this is a family that doesn't look back, Paul. No. I intend to try and be an extremely effective leader of the opposition. I do intend to hold the centre-left to account, and if I can persuade them not to unstitch some of the things that are important there, I'll certainly be doing that.
They brought you in, though, didn't they? But just to ask you this quickly, they brought you in as the leader. Jim Bolger went, and you were brought in not only to deal, perhaps, to Mr. Peters, but also as a chance for a 4th term. Do you feel you have failed the party? Do you feel you have failed?
No, not at all.
OK.
I've worked very hard for the party. They've worked very hard as well. And this is a wonderful political party, which I'm proud to lead, and I do intend to fight to continue to see that national values are put in front of the New Zealand public, and the government is held to account.
Right, Jenny, I've got, Prime Minister, you have the possibility, if you wish, to speak to Mr. Anderton. He's hooked up and he can hear you at his headquarters in Wigram, and he is particularly pleased with the way the vote's gone tonight. Would you like a word with him through this programme? You can do it right now if you wish, but you don't have to. Would you like to?
Well, I would congratulate the centre-left, and I've done that with the leader of the Labour Party. She is clearly the designate Prime Minister, and I think that whoever she chooses to work with is a matter for her, but I congratulate Jim Anderton. I don't think it's as much as he had hoped for, but any success is worth acknowledging.
Prime Minister, I've got to leave you there. Jim, I've got to leave you there. Winston Peters now is arriving at party headquarters, New Zealand First headquarters in Cullen.
Can you guys get back a bit? Back a bit, please. A long way back. I'll do as I say. First of all, I want to thank Charlie Carson and the Electorate organisation for Tauranga. My gratitude to you, Charlie, and your team, and all the work you've done for a long period of time. I want to also thank Carol and her campaign team. It's been a campaign from hell. But it's too early to forecast what might happen in the next few hours, or in fact, the next few days. I want to thank Doug Wilton, the party president. Thanks for coming over, Doug. And I want to thank every candidate. Well, they do say that timing's everything. But I want to thank every candidate. I want to thank every candidate and all of those people that work for the candidates right around the whole country. It hasn't been easy, and I do understand the difficulties they've had, and as we as a party have had these last 3 years, and in particular these last 6 weeks. And above all, I want to thank the people for Tauranga, the people in this city that have kept us alive and supported us through some major battles all these years. It's been really a marvelous experience, one that's not going to end tonight.
Now that is Winston Peters' 2 children. You don't see them very often.
Very proud of Dad tonight. Very proud. Indeed, very emotional, Mr. Peters, now. I don't remember seeing him look so well as he does tonight.
Well, This is my boy Joel and my girl Brittany, who you've not seen much of over the years, because it's important in politics that you keep your family protected from the agony of politics, and I've tried to do that over the years. And more than anybody else, they paid the price for being part of this. And so I'd say to anybody out there, as harsh as you might feel about a politician, leave their spouse and leave their children alone. I want to thank every New Zealander that came out tonight. Bit early yet. I want to thank every New Zealander that voted for New Zealand First today. And I also want to say thank you to my parliamentary staff, some of whom are here tonight, for all their work over a long period of time. That's not been easy either. Tonight, the people of New Zealand have spoken, and we in this party, a Democratic Party, respect their voice. That's their will. They want change, and our duty, all of us here and everybody that's taking part in the proceedings tonight, have a duty to make sure that change happens, that government at last might be open, might be honest, might be accountable. We in New Zealand First have sought to make positive changes, and we have. What we hope for is that the government of the future, and particularly Parliament, will ensure that we start the next century on the right path. Thank you for coming along tonight. As I say, this decision with respect to the people's vote today is not going to be decided in the next few hours. Of that I'm certain. That's why I'm here early. But I want to say to all of you, I know it won't be easy to get around and see you all and talk to you all over the next few months, but for those of you who've come out for the greatest new party that went from formation to government in 3 years flat and is still here tonight. Thank you very much for the experience, and prepare yourselves for something better in the next few years. Thank you very much.
Well, Winston Peters there, and love him or loathe him, you got to say the man has a smile that can light up a room.
Well, you couldn't loathe him at all tonight, and that may be the finest speech Winston Peters has ever given us at any particular time, and certainly very gracious, perfectly pitched for his supporters in the room and pitched for the nation as well, accepting the democratic process, and many people will be heartened by his response to his children rushing to embrace him there just after he started talking. Have we got another bit of progress from Tauranga before we go anywhere else? Before we go across to Nigel? I'm not sure we do. Let's go across to Nigel and have a look at our predictions for the state of the parties for how Parliament might look.
Paul, I think, yes, it's time to look at the share of the votes and how they turn into seats at this time of the evening. And we go back to the party vote that we've seen before, stack up the votes. Very little change to what we've seen. New Zealand First has dropped down to 4.4. Greens 4.8. They need Coromandel or they're not going to make it on these figures, but very little change. ACT now exactly 7%. Let's convert that into seats in the House. Here we see the conversion into seats in the House. No, we don't. It's restacked it again. Well, I can tell you, we're predicting 52 Labour seats. Ah, here they come. 11 Alliance seats, a combined total of 63 for the centre-left. 41 national seats, ACT 9, that's 50, add in United 51. The Greens, of course, are in there, but that depends on Jeanette Fitzsimons winning Coromandel. So it's still very close. And, of course, New Zealand First, if there's an upset in Tauranga, New Zealand First could still be there because we found Tauranga too close to call.
Yes, Hugh, you agree with that? Tauranga too close to call still?
Tauranga at the moment is still close to call, yes.
Yeah. All right, progress from Epps. No, Tauranga, there you are. So Catherine O'Regan still, but 83% counted, nearly 84%. Let us go, they're the very latest. That's the latest figures. They'll be cheering in Catherine O'Regan's headquarters. Linda, Epps.
Epsom, well, Rodney Hyde, a good fight, but not good enough. Richard Worth on 68, 69% of the vote and is expected to hold that seat for National.
Janet McVeigh was a values leader, wasn't she, in the early 80s?
She was indeed. Northcote, Ian Revell, well, we are still predicting that he will win, although you can see how close it is because at the moment on the numbers, Anne Hartley is actually ahead.
Well, nearly 90% counted as well. Yes.
Coromandel. We've been coming in and out of the seat all night. It's just so interesting. And I think, in fact, we're crossing straight now to Richard Prebble's re-entry into his hall. Remember, he arrived a little earlier. There's the good old media scrum.
What about the Prime Minister's...
Let's wait until we're...
He just wants to, does not want to speak carelessly.
The Prime Minister's
They all
defeat. What do you think
want and indeed deserve.
Well, that's her call to make.
A bit of space, a platform to put the notes on.
Result for it?
Well, no, I would say that. We've actually gone up. Where am I speaking?
Let's just put a Wellington Central.
Now, here at the moment, some of you will have been waiting for.
Her senior advisor on the right there, Heather Simpson. It's Helen Clark.
No, it's
Dr. Brian Edwards.
her media advisor.
3 minutes.
Going back to Richard Prebble now.
About to speak.
We all... Yes, you're confirming your reputation as being the party. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight and for the enormous work that has been put in. I particularly wish to start off by thanking Jason Thomas, who's been the formal campaign manager. Yes! There are too many of you to name who have been helping, but I want to say to you that the campaign here in Wellington Central will go down as one of the great election campaigns in New Zealand's history. Yes, it shows you what MMP's done, because under first past the post, under our redistrict boundaries, we were 1,800 votes behind before we even started. And as we've all noticed, there's been a swing to the left tonight, and despite that, we've had a swing to ACT in Wellington Central. That is a fantastic effort. say to the people of Wellington Central that I most certainly appreciate it. It's a tough electorate to represent. You've had, although they had 4 MPs in the 1990s alone, and to get re-elected in Wellington Central is not something that's done very often, but it does appear that that's the way it's going, though I think it'll go right down to the wire. And I certainly want to thank everyone in Wellington Central and to promise them that I'll continue to be a very effective local member of Parliament. One of the challenges of representing ACT is that the way MEP votes come, our best polling booths come last. So if I can tell you a piece of news which hasn't gone over yet, but in the Epsom seat, we are polling 23% on the list. 23%. So you're watching ACT's party list vote continue to rise, and it will. And we are already guaranteed to have more members of Parliament after this election than we went into. So we are one of the winners in this year's election. And to win when the tide is running against the centre-right is, I think, a huge vote of confidence, not just to the quality of our candidates, but to the message that we led. The second thing I think we'll see is I think we're going to see that New Zealand First is not in Parliament. And I have to say that ACT played a significant role in that happening. And I noticed...
now there we have Helen Clark, the
Prime Minister-elect.
Prime Minister-elect, the first elected woman Prime Minister in this country with her husband, Peter Davis.
And that's a jubilant.
Thank you very much.
Must be very satisfactory.
Well, it's been a long night, but we wanted to see as many results come in as we could before we went down.
You must be keen to get your supporters down at Avalon. Any messages for other New Zealanders watching in tonight?
Well, it looks like we're going to have a new government. We're going to start building that tomorrow when I meet with Jim Anderton. And we just want to make a change for the better.
You don't think you were overly cautious waiting this long to leave?
No, I'm very cautious. I've seen a lot of people go out too early on election night.
It looks like after all this waiting, it's yours, Prime Minister, first elected Prime Minister of New Zealand.
I think so, and I feel very humbled by that, and I know there's a crowd waiting down at the hall to have a good talk to us. I'm sorry you're all so wet.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Well, again, we can look at our political... There's the people at headquarters at Avondale. They had the trouble with the lift earlier, but they're waiting for her now, and they would have been watching that little ad-libbed interview as she left her house. Again, Helen Clark, I feel like we're doing the royal tour tonight. Helen Clark looking beautiful tonight and slightly breathless because it must have been, it's been so long, the battle for her, and finally tonight it's come true. Let's just see, there she is leaving now, waving to people near the house. Raining in Auckland tonight.
Now we
Raining perhaps a blessing. And there's the first call from an insurance agent. But,
and we, I think, can cross to Michael Cullen. Let's see her on her way first.
A triumphant Helen Clark, who's waited a long time for this moment, has left
There
the
would
house.
be many in her party who have doubted that she would ever see this moment through, actually. She took the leadership on at a difficult time. She had a big enemy, or a bad enemy, if you will, in Mike Moore for a long time, and she had a rough ride, actually, in those first few years as leader. Then there was the suggestion before the last election that she stand aside.
Now let's go to Dr. Michael Cullen in Napier. Well, looks like it's come true. Michael, you're going to be Treasurer.
It does look that way indeed, Paul.
Helen Clark, we're expecting her to arrive at headquarters. I imagine she's going to get a marvellous welcome there.
I think Helen will get an enormous welcome from the Auckland crowd because she's been leading a 3-year-long fight by a united team to see a new Labour-led government in place. And while Helen's been very typically very cautious, perhaps I could say I'm absolutely certain she's going to be the new Prime Minister.
Can I just... Yes, I can have the applause for that. It's been a long time. I don't want to hark back on old stuff, but there was a time, and it's well known, of course, but there was a time when you doubted that Helen had what it took to win an election to become a Labour Prime Minister. Your opinion must have changed, of course. How do you regard her now? What do you see as her strengths?
I think Helen has got strengths of integrity and intelligence and certainly I think she's proved stickability. We don't treat our leaders easily in the Labour Party. They're sort of tempered like steel many times over. And I think Helen's going to prove a very superb Prime Minister leading a Labour-led government. We've yet to find out, of course, perhaps some of the details of that government as the results are still coming in. There's still some very strange seesaws taking place in some key seats.
Would you expect Jim Anderton to have economic development? He very much wants a portfolio called economic development. You mentioned, I think, early on in the campaign that no such portfolio existed. Would you expect the creation of one?
I'm sure that Jim's going to have a role in economic policy in the economic development area. The exact nature of that is a matter for discussion between Helen and Jim and part of the final agreement of an incoming government. Unfortunately, TVNZ did rather misrepresent what I said at that press conference, and there was never any suggestion that Jim was not going to have a role in economic policy. But I have a feeling that story was written before the interview took place.
Yes. Well, that would be very, very unusual.
That would be my story.
Do you have anything you'd like?
Am I expected to concede to you as well?
Michael Cullen, though, again, a long time in the cold for you. It has been a long time in opposition.
A long time in the cold. I went into opposition a slim and dark-haired youngish man. You're now looking at somebody that my older daughter describes as portly, and certainly full of more experience, but all the better for that. And there's a famous New York Yacht Club unofficial saying that old age and treachery beats youth and inexperience. And I think that might have been true of the economic debates in this campaign.
What went right in Labour's campaign? What was the secret ingredient, do you think?
We had a clear game plan from the start, which was not to get diverted, to stick to our key issues, to promote issues of health, education, superannuation, economic growth, not to get diverted by side issues, and not to engage in gimmicks just for the sake of getting the lead item on the 6 o'clock news. People are actually looking for substance in this campaign, are looking for discussion of the issues of concern for them, not looking for a bunch of circus clowns trying to get applause.
Michael Cullen, congratulations, and you'll be a busy man starting tomorrow, I guess. Wellington.
I'll be a busy man starting tomorrow, you're quite right.
Congratulations, Michael Cullen.
Thank you.
And again, well spoken, and we can say that we are well served by our leaders tonight. They've spoken extremely fluently, extremely well. And indeed, that has been very much part of the campaign, as people listening to, people speaking rationally, really. Look at that Wellington Central progress, Linda. Labour now streaking ahead.
Well, this, we're still saying it's too close to call, but this will have it's sombering news for Richard Prebble. Here's Tauranga. Again, too close to call. Right. Winston Peters ahead of Catherine O'Regan. They have seesawed now for an hour or so.
It would be very nice to go back to Catherine O'Regan at some point if we could possibly do that, because we may have given her false hope before when she stood with her mother and thought very much the seat had been won. But of course, what was that? That was Winston ahead again,
That was Winston ahead again.
A couple of hundred votes.
The story of the night. You cannot really be sure who's going to have them. And as we've said all night, remember, of course, there's special votes on top of this, which will be counted not until December 7th, I think it is. So
now, how go things for Paul Henry and
Georgina
Beyer in Wairarapa? And there you see, comfortable at the moment, 70, nearly 80% of the vote counted. That's a Labour win for Georgina Beyer. She, I think, becomes the first she was the first transsexual mayor in the country, but she becomes the first transsexual MP anywhere in the world, we think.
That is exactly right, and you can expect to see more of her. I think Labour will use her quite wisely. She's going to be a first-time MP, of course, and a backbencher, but she's a colourful person.
We've got a final result from Ireland. Jerry Brownlee, the MP there, in quite a very well-off seat, and extraordinary majority there for Jerry Brownlee. Nape in the final, Jeff Braybrook will be the MP there. I think you will find, again, a stunning majority over Anne Tolley. Hamilton West, we've got Martin Gallagher has beaten Bob Simcock with a comfortable majority. That's a Labour win.
We now go to Hauraki. Well, as expected, John Tamahere well ahead there, a Labour win predicted at this point in time. Teitei Rāwhiti, a progress report there. This has been an interesting seat because of Derek Fox, of course, but no, Parakura Horomia is going to hold that seat for Labour with 90% in. And Manurewa now. Let's have a look at that. George Hawkins, it was his seat all along. No real fight there for second place.
But again, look at that, only 23% coming in from Manurewa. It's hardly the sticks.
It's a slow counter, actually.
It's hardly the sticks, is it? Whanganui, a progress there. Look, nearly 100%. Jill Peters by a country mile. Labour holding Whanganui. Wai Makariri, the progress there for Clayton Cosgrove He goes into Parliament, 95% of the vote nearly counted.
Quite close, and to be honest, that's quite a good result for him, because on paper that was a national seat. It had been a Labour seat, of course, because of the charisma of Mike Moore. So he's done quite well to hold it.
Yeah, that would be a toughie. John Wright, of course, leader of the Democrats there, and who was the other famous name? Ron Mark. Did I see that there?
Now, Ron Mark is relying on New Zealand First surviving. A very nice man, Ron Mark. We'll all be sad to see him go. And John Wright will be there on the alliance list. Or Taki now.
Judy Keel wins it for Labour. Again, comfortable majority. Mangakiki. This is Marie Belinda Vernon's seat, of course, but she very well thought of. We were discussing that earlier. 40 years old, the highest non-ministerial ranking candidate on Nationals list, but that's Mark Goshi. That's very comfortably won by Mark Goshi. But again, only 50%. I'm sorry, that's not a final. That's a progress.
No.
We're talking about these are finals, aren't we?
This is an interesting one. Again, a progress report, not a final, but we are predicting Labour will win. Poor old Max Bradford, Cabinet Minister, are going to lose his seat there, and he will be reliant on the list to survive. He's going to be pretty sorry about that, actually.
So that's Rotorua. Wellington Central, what's happening there now?
Let's have a look at this. Well, this is too close to call. Marion Hobbs, Richard Prebble, again, a little bit like Tauranga. These two have been seesawing throughout the evening. About a 600 vote difference in it, but boy, that's not very much. 74% of the vote in so far. Fascinating
seats tonight to watch, Nigel and Hugh. Wellington Central, Coromandel, the battle goes on there. They're still on tenterhooks there. Tauranga, of course. Winston looks like he's drawn ahead. And the Derek Fox battle, I guess, in Ikaro Rafiti. But how do we see the state of the parties then so far?
The state of this party so far, of course, is very little change from last time, Paul. I think we should say that the one difference with Wellington Central is it's not going to make any difference to the careers of either of the two members of Parliament contesting it. It's not going to make any difference to the fortunes of the political parties concerned in that battle, unlike Coromandel and unlike Tauranga, which huge amounts hinge on those two seats. But let's have a look now. Let's start filling up the party vote shares, and here we can see 38.6, 30.8, 7.9, Alliance fallen just down below the 8%, ACT now on the 7% mark, Green still at 4.8, New Zealand First 4.3. Symbolically, that was the share of the vote last time that the Christian Coalition got, and it would be interesting to see if they got that and some seats in Parliament. And now let's convert that into the seats, and that's converted into the predictions, that we predict this as the votes, and now here are the seats. And that figure that we've seen for several hours now, 52 seats to Labour, 11 to the Alliance, National 41, ACT 9, Green 6, United, Peter Dunn clearly in there, not an overhang MP, adding up to 120 seats in Parliament. New Zealand First out of Parliament, well below the 5% threshold, and wholly dependent on the fortunes of Winston Peters in Tauranga, which is too close to call.
And of course, if that's the way it plays at the end of the day, it's going to be a very different Parliament without Winston Peters. Let's have a look at some more progress reports now. Rotorua, we've been following closely all night, of course. Max Bradford well behind Stephanie Chadwick from Labour. We are predicting a Labour win there. Teitai Hauaru, that one is...
Nanaia Mahuta.
Nanaia Mahuta, she's got it by a country mile. Labour will hold that seat, 94% of the vote in, done and dusted, really.
And this is Mr Okoroa. This is Mahara Okoroa, the Labour candidate to Tauranga, has won that. Tuwari conceded a long time ago, and Tauhinere similarly has conceded in the old Northern Maori, Tai Tokoro. And the winner in the victor there is Dover Samuels, already in the Parliament, of course, and but Tauhinere.
And expected to be Minister of Māori Affairs. I think it's fair to call.
Waiariki, what do we know there? John Delamere's seat, and that's a massive win, a return to Labour, nearly 100% of the vote counted.
And a brand new candidate and a brand new MP in that seat.
A progress from Te Tokoro. No, Hauraki. Yeah, let's go to Hauraki. So John Tamahiri, extremely comfortably positioned there, and that's been John Tamahiri all night, isn't it? That's been comfortable for Labour.
It has indeed.
All night. Hauraki, that's Hauraki. Ikaro Rafiti. What's happened to Derek Fox there? He's held very well for an independent who came late into the race. Parakura Horomia going to win there with 90% of the vote counted.
And poor old Rana Waito, we can just mention him, the sitting MP, just 420 votes. They've really decided that they didn't like, voters have decided they didn't like those MPs who left New Zealand First and set up that new party with Tauhinere. Every one of them has got a beating tonight.
That has been a very, New Zealand First's progress, really, yes, in the Parliament has been a very tough one over 3 years. Yes, back to Wellington Central. Look at, oh my gosh.
You just can't pick it. We are now saying a Labour win. We were saying an ACT win before. It is a real clenching kind of battle to the end.
Are we having trouble getting through to... Yeah, we're just having a bit of trouble getting through to Marion Hobbs, because I would love to be a fly on the wall
See
at
that face.
Labour headquarters. We're just waiting for Helen Clark to speak, but at Labour headquarters...
She should be arriving at headquarters any moment. Of course, you saw just a short time ago her leaving her house with her husband Peter Davis, and the few words she had to say there, pretty humble actually, you've got to say. She said it was an honour to be the first elected woman Prime Minister, as you would expect her to say that, of course.
Yeah, we're waiting for her to arrive at this scene. We hope to be able to show you this. So there she is. Now, that's Helen Clark arriving at the Avondale racecourse, naturally enough in Avondale, and we could deduce from that picture that she's taken one look at the place and got fried and gone. But here she is pulling up now. Oh, the crowd will tell you, as Winston McCarthy used to say. Here is the Prime Minister-elect, Helen Clark.
Already in the government car with the bodyguards around her. That's Tony Timms. He is a long-time confident party worker, used to be the General Secretary of Labour. They are very close friends. She's relied on him heavily over the years.
Helen Clark is 49 years old.
How do you feel, elected female Prime Minister?
Well, it's a tremendous honour and a privilege.
Does this tonight make up for the last 9 years?
They've been tough years, but it makes up for it. She was very gracious when she called, and I thank her for that. And she assured me that she would make the transition as easy as possible.
What will you be telling your supporters up there tonight?
I'll be thanking them for all the help they've had. This is an electorate that's sustained me for 18 years of a career that's sometimes seen us in government and more often not, so I want to thank the people who stuck with me.
I understand you're seeing Jim Anderton tomorrow.
Yes, I am. Yes.
Oh, have you spoken to him tonight?
Yes, I've spoken to Jim at least 2 times tonight, maybe 3. Yeah.
And what have you said to each other?
We're going to talk tomorrow.
And so how do you feel about being the first elected Prime Minister?
It's very humbling, and it's also very exciting.
Yeah.
So, a very proud Helen Clark coming into the hospitality room at Avondale Racecourse, holding hands with her husband, Peter Davis, and that's her mum and dad, Mr. and Mrs. Clark, behind her.
Her father is a retired dairy farmer, you will remember. She grew up on a farm, actually.
Party President Bob Harvey there, who's been a source of some controversy.
Hasn't been entirely helpful during the campaign, I think you'd say.
With, it is alleged, some curious demonstrations to people who he finds are too aggressive in their assessment of his performance.
She's surrounded a lot of party workers close by. There's Dover Samuel. Again, those two have been through some scrapes.
Yeah. Dover Samuels to represent Tito Tokoro. So she's coming in. She won a seat in Parliament back in 1982, Helen Clark. She came in as the MP for Wadaka. And she's been the party leader since 1993. That's Mike Munro, one of her press secretary, very senior advisor.
She's just lost Peter for a moment, grabbing his hand again and making her way into the hall. She can expect one heck of a welcome when she gets on board, because her followers and supporters have waited a long time for this evening.
You have to keep reminding yourself, don't you? This is the Prime Minister-elect. Coming in to be greeted by her and to be acclaimed by her supporters, and she's very moved by the reception she's getting, Helen Clark. She's very moved, obviously, by the trust which the New Zealand public has placed in her and her people today.
To be honest, she probably wants to pinch herself, because a lot of you at home will remember, as we do here, that last election, of course, on election night, it looked as if she might be the first woman Prime Minister then, and of course it wasn't meant to be. Just kissing Mark Watts, he's another one of her staff members.
If I can just say, there's a very poignant shot I can also see, which is not on the air at the moment, but Jenny Shipley, I think, is watching the progress of Helen Clark, and if we just have a look at that, Jenny Shipley, this is quite a poignant moment for the Prime Minister. This is the woman who did not win tonight. This is the person who, in a few days, will cease to be the Prime Minister, and she's wishing, or perhaps thinking, perhaps, that had things turned out differently, this could be her coming into a victorious party reception. But it is not to be.
There's Jo Hawke, and you can see that bodyguards around her getting rather tense, actually, so there is a pretty mighty scrum on her father behind her.
No particular worries there, I wouldn't have thought. 49 years old. Former political science departmental member. There's Jim Anderton watching with Carol, watching Helen Clark's triumphal march.
And the man who will be her Deputy Prime Minister.
And possibly the Minister of Economic Development, depending on what Michael Cullen's got to say about that next week.
Oh, I don't want to say any more about that. I'll just get into more trouble.
So she has a lei around her neck of red, the colour of Labour since it was formed in 1916. Helen Clark now raises her hands in triumph to Peter Davis, her husband. To her supporters, hundreds of them at the Avondale racecourse in the big room there.
That's her sisters there, just embracing one of her 3 sisters. So a lot of family support for her there tonight. That's her other sister in the red, and they are her nieces, I think, now getting up onto the stage. She's making a point there, the 20th anniversary of her election.
No,
in 2001, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I never was very good with maths. There we are, you explained it, Paul.
That was above... No, fair enough. Well, all right.
It did
Norman's
say
telling us
20th.
it said it on the placard, which is plain as day, but it was above us. It was beyond us.
Let's hope that Labour can add better than that when they take over next week.
Jim Anderton in from the cold, Jim Anderton. He's going to be the deputy, and I know that you can see us, and thank you very much, Mr. Anderton. You can hear this for the note you sent me this week, by the by.
And for your patience.
That's okay, no worries. This is Helen's moment, actually.
Members of the Labour Party and Labour supporters, this election result is a turning point in New Zealand's political history. It has been a victory for the values of common decency, compassion and social justice. It brings to a close a decade of politics that has caused division and increasing inequality within New Zealand. I would like you to please welcome Helen Clark, our very own MP for Mount Albert and New Zealand's first elected woman Prime Minister.
Thank you. I apologise for keeping you so long, but I'm a very cautious person. And I was waiting for a few more of those big booths and Labour seats to come in. But around 11:30, the Prime Minister rang me, and I thank her for her call. She was very generous in what she said. There are still a lot of votes to be counted, but it is clear that there is going to be a new government in New Zealand. And tomorrow in Auckland, I will meet with Jim Anderton to start the process of putting that new government together. And can I say from the outset that it is my view that the level of working relationship we have had with Jim Anderton and his party has made tonight's result possible. The result tonight clearly indicates that New Zealanders want a change of direction. We're on the cusp of a new century and we can have a fresh start. And I stand before you humbled that our party has again been chosen to lead a fresh start for New Zealand. And I want to thank the New Zealanders from all walks of life who have made this possible. In the course of this campaign, in fact, it's been a campaign that's gone not just for a month, but around 3 years. In the course of rebuilding Labour support, I have travelled to communities large and small all over New Zealand. And I know we are drawing support from rural New Zealand, small town New Zealand, provincial city New Zealand, and the suburbs of our great cities. And I thank all of you have come in behind our banner tonight. I particularly want to acknowledge the confidence which Māoridom has placed in us again. Kia ora mō koutou whina kia mātou. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you too to the Pacific peoples. I hope we will see 2 of your ladies in Parliament with us in the new Parliament. And thank you too to the ethnic minority communities of New Zealand. You have given us wonderful support, and I speak from the heart in thanking you too. For me, this campaign has been about articulating basic New Zealand values. They've been values of fairness and opportunity and security. And when I opened our campaign in the Auckland Town Hall a month ago, I said I felt I wasn't just launching a campaign, but a crusade, because I don't think the best values have guided us in New Zealand in the 90s. And I want to change that. So it's been about a vision for a better society. It's been about the public interest. It's been about acknowledging that ordinary working families and throughout our lives, we need good public services in health, in education, secure pension, decent housing, jobs, and a hand up for small and medium-sized business too. That's been the basis. And I guess a lot of people can cite our little card as much as I can, but it helps. I'm also proud that we have won while standing firm on positions which are very important for our traditional supporters, like on the removal of the Employment Contracts Act.
Just looking at Winston Peters, greeting some of his people, continuing there. Winston Peters was watching, no doubt watching some of Helen Clark's speech. And there he is, he's 300 ahead at the...
That is the final.
That's the final.
So he has held Tauranga. He will be best pleased with that, and he will bring in on current polling about 4.3% is the current polling. That's a number of MPs as well.
Are we able to go to speak to Winston Peters? We won't, I think, at this particular point. We'll
I have thanks firstly to my family,
Helen Clark's
to Peter. Thank you for everything. To my parents, to Mum and Dad who've hung in there with me all these years. And I saw 3 new political commentators tonight, my 3 sisters. And there's many other family here tonight as well. There's one not married yet, I can tell the man in the front. I want to also thank everyone who has stood alongside me in the Labor Party. I want to thank Bob Harvey, our President, and Rob Allen, General Secretary, here tonight. And our party council and staff. I want to thank Mike Williams, our campaign manager, who's been commenting tonight for us. I want to thank all my parliamentary colleagues. You've fought a wonderful campaign alongside me, which has made this result possible, and to all our candidates as well, list and electorate. You've done a magnificent job. I want to thank my own staff here in Auckland, Joan and Diane, who've done a wonderful job holding the fort for the Leader's office. And I want to thank Heather and Dot and Tony and Mike and Mark and David, all our media staff, research staff, parliamentary staff. It wouldn't be possible without you either. Thank you very much. And last but not least, I want to thank my party supporters here and workers in Mount Albert and the electorate of Mount Albert, which has sustained me in politics for 18 years. Some of them been good years and some not so good, but you've stuck with me, and I thank you very much for that. I get the feeling that from here, my life might change quite a lot. But I can assure you I won't be changing. And I hope that the change we can bring will make you feel, will make New Zealanders feel that our country is back on track, espousing the kinds of values that we grew up with: a fair society, good education, good health system, dignity in retirement, and an absolute commitment to a growing economy which shares opportunity and work. If we
a marvellous reception for Helen Clark at the hospitality suite at the Avondale Racecourse, the Prime Minister-elect. Or is she? Because we've got a complication now. Winston Peters has won Tauranga. He brings 5 seats in. Nigel, what does this mean?
I think that the easiest way to show what this means is to go and have a look at the House of Representatives and fill the seats with the predictions that we're making. And here you can see that we were predicting that National is going to have 40 seats in the new Parliament. United 1, the one that they held before, Peter Dunn. ACT 9, up 1 from its current 8. The Greens, subject to winning Coromandel, 6 seats. New Zealand First, and of course this crucial balance of power here. And 10 for the Alliance, and 49 for the Labour Party. Those of you who are quick at maths at 10 to 1 in the morning will realise that 49 and 10 is 59, which is not more than half the seats in the House. Of course, if the Greens are there, the centre-left goes up to 65 out of 120 seats, a clear majority. The irony is, Paul, that if the Greens don't hold Coromandel and the Greens drop out, Labour's vote goes back up, and Labour and the Alliance will have that clear majority again. So at the moment, with New Zealand First and the Greens in, they depend on the Greens to get a majority.
So at this point in time, what that means is that Helen Clark is hoping that Jeanette Fitzsimons doesn't win the Coromandel and she can do her coalition with Jim Anderton in a more tidy fashion.
Yes, because run that by us again. Run that by us again, because we're all very tired at 10 to 1 in the morning, and people at home, of course, are going to be trying to grasp it as well, and they will have had a drink. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll do that again. At the moment, we have 49 seats for the 49 seats for the Labour Party, yep. 40 for National.
Yep.
10 for the Alliance. 10 and 49, of course, is 59. The Greens there, you can see down below ACT, have 6. And that brings them to 65 seats altogether. But were the Greens to drop out, Labour and the Alliance, of course, in effect, and the other parties, have their votes redistributed somewhat.
Yes, they pick up a bit. So it's going to be quite important. Let's go to Jim Anderton on that very question. It's very important the Greens are not there, Mr Anderton, on that analysis.
Either way, as I said tonight, whether the Greens are there or not, Labour and the Alliance will have enough votes to govern, because the Greens have committed themselves to support a Labour-led government, and if they're not there, then we'll have our share of their votes and we'll have a majority. So as I said, and when I came on, I was certain there will be a change of government, and it'll be led by Labour, and the Alliance will be there, whether or not the Greens are there. So I want to congratulate Helen Clark. It's a magnificent achievement. She's worked long and hard, and no one knows that better than I do. And we've had our moments in the past, as most of New Zealand knows. But I'm looking forward to meeting her tomorrow as the Prime Minister-elect. We'll get on with the business of preparing a government for New Zealand before Christmas. And then we are going to prepare for a long period, in my view, of prosperity for this country, because we're going to help rebuild it. And I want all those Kiwis who've left in the last few years to realise there's a new government here and a new era for New Zealand, and they'll come home, I hope, and help us rebuild the country.
How long would you expect before you could go to the Governor-General and say we've got a government?
Well, we have to wait until all the returns are in. And I mean, even as I speak to you, we still don't know. I mean, one of my scrutineers at a polling booth in Sydenham left at 12:30 at night, and they've been there all day. I think we're going to have to do something about the count in this country, to be honest. But nevertheless, we'll wait till the results come in finally.
Well, you're right about the count, Jim, because I think it's been an hour since we've had anything from Coromandel, yes. So that's deeply frustrating.
It's hopeless.
Yeah, hopeless.
Absolutely.
It's murder.
So
all right.
I think there should be an inquiry, and we're going to have enough inquiries. We're going to
have you've got 198. Billinger says you're going to have 198 inquiries.
So what's one more?
What's one more? Congratulations again, Jim Anderton.
Thank you.
We're just trying to get a pleasure. It's just trying to get hold of Richard.
Here's
Prebble.
Helen Clark now, actually, and I just want to say, Helen, very, very warm congratulations.
Thank you,
it's been a magnificent victory.
Yep, thanks very much.
Yeah, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you tomorrow and working through this and getting cracking to get the country moving again.
Yep, and we'll see you just around 2 o'clock.
Yes, I will.
Thanks a lot.
Very much.
Thanks for everything.
Well done.
Cheers.
Bye.
Is that 2 o'clock this morning or 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon? How determined are you to get underway?
Well, we've got so many media interviews in the morning, I don't think I'll bother even going to sleep. But we're catching a plane around midday, and we'll be meeting at a venue close to the Auckland airport. Probably my press officer's told everybody where it is by now, at 2 o'clock, and we'll be meeting throughout the afternoon.
All right, well, I think we have got a progress report from Wellington Central now, and my word, at the moment we're saying this will be a Labour win.
That's a 1,500 difference there. That's 1,500. That's a win.
A sizable difference, and that's 84% basically of the vote in. So that will be an upset for Richard Prebble.
But as Nigel says, neither career is upset by that particular decision. I think we've got Richard Prebble right there. That's disappointing, Richard.
Oh, I'm not sure that it is. It's going to go right down to the last booth. There are some very big booths in Wellington Central that haven't come in yet that I won by 60%, so I'm waiting to see.
Do you expect that you might, this might be decided by the specials at the end of the day?
Oh, yes, I actually said to you in the first interview today that I thought that Wellington Central might be decided by the specials, and I well remember when Landslide Comber won it by 32 votes after waiting 3 weeks.
Indeed. Now, at about 6.9% of the vote, I think we're giving you for party vote at the moment. That is significantly lower than you guys were hoping to get. What is it, do you think, that turned voters off?
Oh, well, there's a swing to the centre-right. What I do point out to you is it's higher than the vote we got last election. So in an election where the tide was running against the centre-right, the ACT party went up. And I think the reason that happened is because we raised a debate about the issues and the electorate connected to it.
I think what Linda is saying, though, is that you really started very, very well in that first couple of weeks of this quite long weeks of campaigning. You started very well. Yeah. But something happened, Richard, I mean, you had a bad last week.
No, one thing that really happened was that in the last week, both television channels decided to do the two leaders, and you saw all the other parties being squeezed down. It helps to be on TV.
Oh, I think, Richard, we saw plenty of you. It's just that you were being surrounded by shouting protesters and placards and the like.
Well, in fact, those meetings actually went extremely well, though you did concentrate on a few of the protesters.
All right, so
I want to say to you again, because I think it's quite important to say it, the ACT Party went up.
I was just
we are
about
one of the
to
winners
ask you
of this
about
election
this.
campaign. We're going to end up with more members of Parliament than we went in.
One more than you went...
That's right.
That's right. Now, you've
a heck of a lot
lost...
better than being poor old Winston, who's got 5.
You're good. Point taken, point taken. You've lost Trish now, of course, one of your really high-calibre MPs. Who are the fresh faces you're going to bring in with you?
Oh, well, Stephen Franks, of course, I think is an outstanding new Member of Parliament. And we're bringing in more rural members. We're bringing in Penny Webster. We're bringing in Jerry Eckhoff. And so what we are doing is we're continuing to represent the whole of the country. And I think we're going to be what the critics have already said. We will be the effective opposition. We will be the party that will continue to raise fresh new ideas. Won't just be a negative opposition, but we'll keep them on their toes. We will keep them accountable, and we'll be back.
I think it's fair to say that Jim Anderton can expect a bit of jip from you across the chamber, can he not?
Oh, only in the most constructive way. But, I mean, the ACT is a party that will oppose tax increases. We are the party that protects private property rights, and we most certainly are the party that is in favour of one law for all.
All right, well, Richard Prebble, congratulations on winning one more MP. We don't really know the result in your seat. We are at the edge of our seats like everybody else.
It's a great seat, and they keep you waiting right to the last minute.
Well, they do, that's right. They do. So Richard Prebble at the moment, 1,500 behind in Wellington Central, but it's not over. It is not over yet. Moving on quickly, Catherine O'Regan at the National Party headquarters in Tauranga, and not conceding, Catherine.
No, I'm definitely not conceding. It's too close to call yet, and there are still special votes to be counted.
Well, that is the final. As we see it, at this hour of the evening, Winston Peters ahead by about 300 votes.
Yes, but I know that there have been a lot of special votes cast in Tauranga over the last couple of days, and certainly I know that there are a lot of people travelling, and so we're not conceding yet because I think that it's still within the possibilities.
Yes, what would you say to Mr. Peters, who's watching you, Catherine? What would you say to Winston Peters? He's watching you somewhere across town.
Oh, I'm sure he is, but I noted that he also said that it's in the specials, so I think that's probably quite right. It might be a few days yet before we know for sure.
How many specials are there? Do you know? Do you ever know this?
No, I have no idea, unfortunately, Paul. No idea at all.
Can you imagine that it might come down to a recount?
Well, it might indeed, but at this stage we're just looking at the special votes. But I think what is interesting is that we've cut the majority back from 8,000 down to, as it stands tonight, without the special votes being counted, 320 odd, and I think that that is actually a very good indicator that Tauranga is very dissatisfied with Winston's approach.
Indeed.
All right, yes, and we have seen, that's Catherine O'Regan being cheered by supporters, we've seen some majorities plummet tonight. Dramatic one in Tauranga, dramatic one in Epsom. Now, Marion Hobbs, I think, is at the Labour headquarters in the Wellington Central seat, and I hope to be speaking to her, or hope that one of us will be talking to her. There she is, Marion Hobbs. So, can you hear me, Marion?
Not yet.
Don't think Marion Hobbs can quite hear us. Just plug, I think, Marion, this might be quite noisy for her there. I don't know whether. Can you hear us, Marion?
I can barely hear. I can barely hear you.
You'll have to tell those supporters to quieten down a bit. There is a progress report in your seat. 1,500
ahead, Marion, at the moment.
Gosh, that's amazing. And when you think about it, last time Richard won by 2,000 and he had a help of 8,000 for National. If we've got to this stage of the evening with 1,500 ahead and they haven't got National's help in their last time, we've done wonderfully for the left in this country. I'm absolutely proud.
Have you got anything to say to Phillida Bunkle? Marion, have you anything to say to Phillida Bunkle? Because, of course, she withdrew.
I think that she's absolutely courageous, and I absolutely endorse it, and I think it is a way of actually Labour and Alliance working together. Phillida was wonderful in doing what she did do, and I really appreciate that.
1,500 ahead at the moment. What was the percentage counted in? I missed that. Something like 90%.
It was very high, yeah.
So very high, 83% counted, Marion. You are 1,500 ahead, but of course specials are very important in this electorate. Would you have a view on that?
Well, the specials actually are not only the overseas specials, they're also the specials of somebody who went out in the last 4 weeks and re-enrolled 1,100 voters on that roll. They are specials too. They are young people, and they are people from different communities who are unsure of how to actually enrol. So it's not quite as clear as it used to be that those specials will all be the overseas vote. There are some very significant things. It's not a clear-cut race.
What does it feel like? What does it feel like, Marion? I don't want to ask what does it feel like, but what does it feel like to be about to enter government?
It feels just wonderful. I mean, that's my greatest joy of tonight, to have actually made government, to actually be able to make a change for people in New Zealand, to turn it around for workers in New Zealand, for families in New Zealand, to actually give hope to people. I find that so special.
Marion Hopp, thank you. We will go to, thank you, Marion, and we'll go now to Coromandel. Another progress, 4 out of 5 indicators. Still
only, look at that, still only 67.5% of the votes in, so still a fair way to go. We're still predicting a Green win, about 100 votes in it at the moment, but 30-odd% of the votes still to come in that electorate.
So that's intolerably slow, Nigel Roberts. Hugh Morton, in it.
Yes, it is.
I mean, we can't wait all night. You can't wait all night, can you? For 30% of the
Paul,
votes
I thought they'd gone to sleep earlier.
In the boondocks.
There was a period when there was over an hour without a booth result coming in.
That was just Hamilton West.
Hamilton West. Let's just have a look at that, because they have been interesting seats. Hamilton West, there we are. The sitting MP, Bob Simcock, beaten by Martin Gallagher.
Now, just a couple of quick finals. Nelson, the final, has gone to Nick Smith, of course. Waimakariri, Clayton, Cosgrove, Labour. Aoraki final. The Aoraki final is Jim Sutton, of course, being a Labour minister. Special interest, a big majority there for Jim Sutton. Albany, you would expect Mary McCulley to be holding that. Oh, hang on. Coromandel, new numbers. Oh, my gosh, look at how close that is. That's 72%. They're starting to count it now. That's neck and neck. Jeanette Fitzsimons, Murray McLean, still predicting a Green win.
That is going to come down to the specials, let's be honest.
Clutha, Southland, this will be Bill English, we'll find, very comfortably positioned there. A victory for National. Waimakariri done that, haven't we? Auraki, and that's Clutha again. That's
Tuki, this is a final result too. Rick Barker from Labour getting that quite comfortably. Port Waikato.
That's very comfortably.
Very comfortably. There again, that is Bill Birch's old seat actually. Paul Hutchison, the new National candidate, getting that quite comfortably.
You've got the Tuki final.
Let's have a look at it.
Final just coming. And we know that's Rick Barker, so he's back in. Port Waikato, that is a final. Paul Hutchison, the obstetrician gynaecologist, is in to replace Bill Birch.
Titirangi.
This is a final. David Cunliffe has done it for Labour.
He has done it. Marie Hassler has been beaten there. Quite a good majority. Pakuranga, a final result from Pakuranga now.
Marie Hassler, that is a big turnaround. That's a big swing against
It is. Maurice Williamson, Pakuranga holds the seat. He'll be happy about that. No surprises. West Coast Tasman final. Damien O'Connor holds the seat, and I think now we are going to Helen Clark.
Helen Clark, and this will be the first one-on-one interview with the Prime Minister-elect, the new Prime Minister, soon to be the new Prime Minister of New Zealand. And I've got you now in the camera. Congratulations, Helen.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Did you know it was coming? I mean, the commentators had been so confident of a centre-left victory all week. But you have bad experience, I know, of thinking it was in the bag. When it wasn't, you've been quite cautious. You've repeated that word cautious a couple of times tonight. When did you know or feel that you were going to be OK?
I've been watching Labor support consolidate throughout the campaign. We've polled very, very regularly, and I felt that certainly what has happened tonight was within our grasp, but as you say, we've all been bitten by polls before, and I will remember Mr. Bolger on 1993 going out to the assembled media and saying, bugger the pollsters, so I was very cautious before coming down here tonight.
Helen, how do you read what's happening in Coromandel? Do you want the Greens? Do you need the Greens?
Well, it's hard to comment when I haven't seen the news update for about half an hour, and I've watched ebbs and flows on these results all night. But what I would say is that it would be a tremendous disappointment for the Greens to come so close and not have won Coromandel. And
at the moment, Helen's 14 votes in it with 80% of the vote counted,
yeah,
so it's going to be
absolutely a cliffhanger.
It's going to be a toughie. And what about yourself? Now, you must be immensely proud tonight. You have had a long row to hoe.
It has been a long road.
Your reaction to the people of New Zealand placing their trust in a party led by you?
All I can say is I regard what has happened tonight as a privilege and an honour, and I feel humbled by it. I'm in politics to make a difference. I want to make a difference, and I think we can make a difference for ordinary, hard-working people who ask little more of government than that they spend their taxes wisely on decent health and education and make sure a good pension is there in retirement.
Helen, you were very generous tonight to Jim Anderton. How important do you think was it, that decision, was it a year ago or a little longer, that you and Jim Anderton came together at that party conference and have really campaigned in tandem?
I think it was incredibly important, Linda, because our experience prior to that had been of campaigning against each other and leaving the public with no confidence that after an election we could patch it up and be a stable and enduring government. So the decision that was made in August last year to work on parallel lines was a brave one for both of us, but I have no doubt in my mind that it was the right decision. And when one looks at the proportional systems of Europe, one knows there has to be an enduring relationship between the major party on the centre-left and the party to the left of it.
Your conversation with the Prime Minister, who will soon no longer be the Prime Minister tonight, you've run a very hard campaign against her. You have been implacably opposed, the two of you. It is even said there is not a lot of love lost between you. But you say that she was gracious to you when she called tonight. Can you tell us something of what she said to you, what she told you?
Yes, she was gracious and she was generous when she called tonight, and I thank her for that. I guess I understand a little how she feels tonight because I've had my disappointments on election night too. And I just say it was a fair fight. And I just appreciate how she feels.
But when you say she was gracious, Helen, what did she say to you?
She congratulated me on the win. She indicated that she would certainly do everything she could to see that there was a good transition, and she offered me her personal congratulations.
Now, last time round we had some 8 weeks of coalition talks. This time round it's going to be very different, isn't it?
Yes, I'm very hopeful that we can have a new government in place by Christmas. That will very much depend on there being a clear result for Labor and the Alliance together. And last time I checked the news headlines, that looked like it was possible.
By Christmas is going to alarm some people. That's still a wee way away.
Yeah.
Does this mean you'll have to wait until the specials are counted in seats like the Coromandel before you can actually declare yourself a government?
It may not depend on that, but certainly the writs aren't returned for the best part of another 2 weeks yet. And we'll just have to see tomorrow when I start talking with Mr. Anderton formally how fast we can go.
So tomorrow, 2 p.m. you meet and you start preparing for governance.
We do.
Did you despair over the years of this ever happening?
Oh, yes. Yes, it has been a long haul. It's around 28 years since I first joined the Labor Party. I first stood for Parliament in 1975. I came into my present seat in 81. I was a cabinet minister in 87, and then in 1990 we got what was perhaps a richly deserved kick in the bottom, and we went into opposition. It's been a long haul, but looking back on it, I've learned a lot, and I think a period in opposition does bring you very much back to your basic values. And,
even though it can be a miserable sort of a time. Helen, I've got to tell you, Jim Bolger is on the phone from Washington DC, waiting to talk to you just on your left or your right, I think. Would you like to take that privately, or would you like to talk to him?
I'd certainly be very happy to take the call.
Well, would you like to do that, or would you like us to take the camera off you while you did that, Prime Minister-elect?
Helen, it's fine with me.
But we won't be able to. We might hear him if we get the...
Hello, Jim. Thank you very much.
We can't hear Jim Bolger,
I really appreciate that.
That's a very nice gesture, one has to say.
That is a thoroughly nice gesture.
They were real rivals. Of course, he will now be working for her.
Thank you,
That
Jim.
is correct.
He is the ambassador to Washington, remember, she now is his boss. So a timely call.
A timely call, and although Jim Bolger will be calling her with admiration for a long-time battler, for a long-time campaigner, he will also be concerned that he won't be having to pack the bags immediately. But I understand that I understand there's no intention on Helen Clark's part at this particular point of time to bring him home. But that is a very nice gesture. He'll be phoning her, be watching the internet. He'll be phoning her to offer congratulations. And you remember when he left the House, he praised her and said he'd always been able to do business with her, to deal fairly with her.
Thanks, Jim.
He did indeed.
That he could trust her as an opponent.
Helen, if you can hear us still, what did Jim have to say to you?
His advice to me was don't rush. He said that as a government, perhaps they'd gone a bit fast at the beginning. So.
Oh, he meant 1990.
Yeah,
he didn't mean Russian. He didn't mean Russian to coalition. Yeah.
No.
Was that good advice, do you think?
Well, I think it is. I've seen a few other governments that have rushed too, and it seldom leads to good results.
You said in the launch of your campaign that Roger Douglas and Richard Prebble had nearly destroyed my party, you said. Is that how you see it?
Yes, I do. I feel that in many ways the Labour Party was put through torture. And I guess my job in the 1990s has been to try and heal those wounds.
And yet, though, Helen, it's also fair that some of the people who remain Labour supporters are very proud of what Labour did in the mid-80s.
Some. But others feel that as a movement it put us back quite a long way.
Now, if you stay with us, Helen, we have Jeanette Fitzsimons at the same time, and you and her can share some words, I think. If we can see Jeanette simultaneously, just bear with us. There she is. Jeanette, have you got anything you would like to say to Helen Clark?
Congratulations, Helen.
Thank you, Jeanette.
Delighted that you'll be our next Prime Minister. I hope that there will be some Greens in Parliament to work constructively with you to make a better future for New Zealand.
Thank you very much, and we're watching your cliffhanger result with great interest.
I think we've got a little bit more to show you. There you go. So 300 no ahead, Murray McLean. 90% of the vote. Too close to call Murray McLean, slightly ahead of Jeanette, Helen.
Yeah.
Again, exactly, not much you can say about that. And Jeanette, have you got any information we haven't got?
Haven't at this stage.
All right then, so thank you, Jeanette Fitzsimons, and thank you, Helen Clark, and I'm sure the whole country wishes you all the best for the big responsibility you have placed upon your shoulders. Good night.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's have a look at the progress on the party vote. Nigel, what are we up to now?
Well, we're in an extremely interesting situation because while Helen Clark was talking to Jeanette Fitzsimons, we got the news and we've got the reconfiguration of what happens if the Greens aren't in Parliament. And so let's see the shares of the votes and then translate that into shares of seats, because we've now got a new scenario. It must be about the 30th tonight. And here we have the shares of the votes so far. Let's now show what we're going to predict the shares of the votes to be. Oh, we're going straight to the seats. And, oh, we're still here and predicting the Greens in. But look at that. Labour and the Alliance together would get 60 seats on the current scenario. We, in the computer, our latest update, probably marginally by a few seconds preceding the graphic in front of you, had have the Greens out because of the results from Coromandel. We stress it's not a final, and as we've been saying all evening, it will probably go down the wire to the specials, but the record of the specials in Coromandel tends to favour the National Party.
Well, on that scenario, Nigel, correct me if I'm wrong, but 60 seats for Labour and the Alliance together. If the Greens don't, oh, well, of course, if the Greens don't make it, those numbers would go up.
Go up anyway, yes.
That'd be 61 or 2, wouldn't it?
So on that, they'd have 66, and that would be pretty comfortable.
No, they wouldn't go up by 6.
No, but
they'd have about 63 seats altogether.
Right, okay. Coromandel, here is the latest, 96.3% of the vote, and it's still too close to call. About 200 and something or other votes in it, so it is going to come down to the specials. I think we've known that for an hour or so now.
But you see, as Jim Anderton says, Nigel, if the Greens go in, they have declared they will offer to support a Labour Alliance coalition, so either way, it's a win for Helen Clark tonight as Prime Minister and her party, and Jim Anderton's party, and maybe for the Greens.
And Labour, and National down to 39 seats compared to Labour's 50. So when you come down to the two major parties, they are, National is quite reduced and Labour is quite swell.
National Act will be a 48, so 48 for National Act, and 60, well, they'll come up as well, won't they? So 49, 50, 50 against about 63.
It's too late. Hey, let's have a look at some finals now. Taupo.
No, they want the debating chamber.
No. All right. Correct me.
That's all right, though. 20 to 2 in the morning. Now you can mix it. Yeah.
We're going to another studio to talk to Nigel and Hugh about the debating chamber.
Here we are, and we're going to look at the configuration of the seats in the House of Representatives. We're going to swoop down and start filling the seats. And here, of course, we have on the government side, because there's still the caretaker government, obviously, 41 seats for National. we have 1 seat for United, Peter Dunn, and we have 9 seats, up 1 for Richard Prebble and ACT. And then we have 6 seats for New Zealand First, 11 for the Alliance and Jim Anderton, and filling the rest of the chamber, we have 52 seats, because on this scenario you'd have seen the Greens weren't in there, and that's what happens. We raise the Labour to 52, the Alliance to 11, a total of 63. So those 6 seats are in effect redistributed to both sides of the House. The National goes up, and in fact, also New Zealand First goes up from 5 to 6. So the government, ironically, is strengthened, the incoming government is strengthened by the absence of the Greens.
Good, Nigel. And the incredible thing is Fitzsimons. Jeanette Fitzsimons has just gone ahead in Coromandel. I understand, I don't know by how much.
19 ahead is certainly better than 300 behind.
Exact. 19 ahead, Jeanette, did you say? Oh, we haven't. So Jeanette is 19 ahead at the moment. Nando Tandosh is right alongside you on the screen, still at Auckland Central with Sue Bradford there.
Have you guys got nerves of steel or what?
It is a very painful night, isn't it? Is it not?
Yes. We've known it's going to be very exciting. This is a total roller coaster of a ride, but we're still here. We're still hanging in.
Very good indeed. Good to see the spirits still up. And, of course, the latest news you've heard is that Jeanette is now 19 ahead in Coromandel. But, again, this, I don't think it'll be determined tonight, will it, to Sue and Nando, because there's going to be special votes to decide this one. What do you think, Jeanette? It's going to be specials?
Sorry?
Is it going to be special votes to decide this, do you think?
It'll certainly be decided on the specials. It's going to be a couple of weeks before we know for sure. And I guess that'll all be good for our patients, won't it?
Exactly. Before your Sydney Green... Well, you've been very patient over the years, so a couple of weeks before your Sydney Greens show their colours and your London Greens and your Greens come out of the bush.
Right.
So, stay there. We will be here for a while yet. We will be back with more of Decision 99 in a few minutes.
Direct from the BBC.
The business is without morals.
The fashion industry doesn't want you to see this world, but on Monday you will.
I've been using 2 cameras. One to take pictures on the catwalk, a secret camera to film off it.
A journalist goes undercover to expose disturbing truths about the fashion industry and one of the world's most prestigious agencies.
We tend to consider girls now like not human.
A year-long investigation that reveals drug abuse.
You name it, they've got it.
And sexual exploitation of girls as young as 13.
The actors fashion's pimps.
McIntyre undercover, fashion victims.
Have to blow the whistle and blow my cover before it goes too far.
An exclusive assignment special, 8:30 Monday on 1. Proudly brought to you by Qantas.
From the finest chocolate, Gillian creates little waves of happiness.
Raise your glasses to the best beer drinking songs in the world ever.
I get knocked down, I get knocked down, but I get up again. Come on, it's
30 of the best beer drinking songs on one fantastic album. It's the best beer drinking songs in the world ever, and it's out now.
I needed to fix my car and needed some money. Instant Finance were there. They really helped me out. Couldn't have been easier.
Instant Finance. Here if you need us.
Thanks, Instant Finance.
Discover an Aladdin's cave of wonders filled with jewels, gems and crystals. Express your style with your choice of gemstone and design. Enjoy natural treasures of the world that don't cost the earth at Jewels and Gems, 86 Manukau Road, Epsom.
Friend, what, sir, not yet at rest? The king's abed. He hath been in unusual pleasure, and sent forth great largess to your officers. This diamond he greets your wife withal by the name of the most kind hostess, and shut up in measureless content.
Being unprepared, our will became the servant to defect.
Does anyone feel like
the line red.
So I lose none in seeking to augment it, but still keep my bosom franchise and...
$6.50 for a beer.
All over Auckland, we're celebrating the Pooh meaning of friendship throughout November with a special gift for you. Just spend a total of $50 or more at any one of these shopping centres and you'll receive a Winnie the Pooh special edition print absolutely free. The print comes with a numbered certificate and is suitable for mounting or framing. There are 4 different prints to collect while stocks last, and they're simply Pooh-utiful. Hurry into any of these great shopping centres now and celebrate Winnie the Pooh Friendship Day.
Welcome back. You're troopers for staying with us, but it's too exciting to go to bed. Now, Winston Peters is in his Tauranga headquarters. He doesn't want to talk to us, and I know, Winston, you will be watching us, so be a sport, because everyone at home wants to hear from you. So just, you know, mosey up to Lee Pearson and the camera, and it'll all be fine.
Now, we just heard that it's possible that in Ikaro Rafiti, Derek Fox may have a chance. Look, closing there, but again, 93% of the vote counted. It's they must be counting on...
odd, 700.
Yes, they must be counting on a couple of key booths, perhaps, Wairau booths, perhaps coming for Derek Fox, excuse me.
A Rotorua final now, and as we've been picking all night, that is a win for Labour. Max Bradford loses his seat.
As I say, the second MP to come from Karamu High School in Hastings, Stephanie Frizzell, as she used to be called now, Stephanie Chadwick.
Taranaki King Country final. As we've expected again, Shane Arden, the national candidate, wins there with a healthy majority of 6,000 odd.
Quickly, Winston is leaving his headquarters now.
Mercurial as ever. Now, remember last time...
I can't say that he responded well to your invitation.
He never has.
No, but...
remember last time, the day after the election, he went fishing, and I can probably predict he'll be out on the boat again tomorrow.
And as he said in his extremely gracious and moving speech tonight to his supporters, it's been one hell of a campaign. It's been a rough campaign. He's a very tired man. But he...
still a charismatic player, though, and at the moment we've got him on...
A Northcote final, what have we got? Labour had hopes here, and Hartley, look at that, has defeated. That's a final result. Labour have won Northcote. Ian Revel has gone, and Hartley, former Mayor of Birkenhead, and she is the winner in Northcote. Coromandel
progress report. No, yes, Coromandel. Still very, very close, 300, 200 odd votes in it, 96.3% of the votes in, too close to call. It will be decided on the specials. Dunedin North, a final result now. That is Pete Hodgson's... Yesterday it is Pete Hodgson's seat. Tomorrow he has held it. Dunedin South now, a final there. A new Labour candidate wins that seat, David Benson Pope. That is the old Michael Cullen seat. He has moved on to the list.
New Plymouth, victory for Harry Dynhoven for Labour. No surprise there, but look at that majority. We can go to Whangarei for a final. And we see that Phil Heatley has won it. Brian Donnelly has been...
Look at the votes, though, there. That is actually a relatively even match. The votes were spread among a number of parties. So a good old fight there. Muriel Newman coming in 5th. On ACT, she's on the list. She'll still be there.
Dr Lockwood Smith, we assume, is safe in the seat of Rodney with a healthy majority. That's a final national majority of 6,290.
Here's a final now from Mana. This is Graham Kelly's seat, and he wins it with a 4,800 majority.
Things slow to come in Kaikoura still, and there'll be some questions asked about this, but at the moment, National's Linda Scott looks healthily placed there. Look, 98% really of the vote counted, so a victory, as expected, in Kaikoura for National.
Christchurch East now. Christchurch East, this is a final result. Leanne Dalzell takes that seat. She was a list MP last time. Now she has a constituency to call her own. 10,000 majority there.
I don't think we ever had a progress from Christchurch East tonight. I think this is the first news we've had of Christchurch East all night. Paul Peace is the Alliance candidate there, but they went for Leanne, popular local MP Leanne Dalzell.
Now, time to have a look at some of those referendum. There were 2, of course. Fewer MPs, well, no surprise, yes. 82% of you wanted fewer MPs, 99 of MPs rather than 120, and just 18% of you decided that they were worth the money and you'd hang on to the 120 MPs.
Mount Albert a progress, but of course Helen Clark will comfortably win her seat in Mount Albert, the leader of the Labour Party, and tonight the Prime Minister elect. So you see a substantial majority with nearly 100% of the vote counted. Couple of Maori seat results. Wairiki, John Delamere's seat it was, now belongs to Labour with a, well, you could call it an extremely healthy majority, 1.5% of the votes still to go. Te Tai Tonga now. This is a progress report only, although 89% of the vote, and Labour's going to hold that seat too, Wiley conceded many, many hours ago. Te Tai Tokoro. We had a concession there too earlier in the evening. Dover Samuel, a healthy majority. That's not a final, but 87.3% in. The old Western Maori seat, Te Hawauru, Tuku Morgan's seat is no longer his. Nanaia Mahuta has won the seat for Labour, the Maori and Western Maori going back to Labour as well. And a wired up a progress report, not a final yet. Georgina Beyer, 2,000 votes ahead of her rival from National, Paul Henry. Labour is expected to win. Yes, with 4.3% to be counted, but that's with a couple of thousand votes. Congratulations to Georgina Beyer. To Hauraki, that's John Tamahiri goes into Parliament for the Labour Party, his first election, and he's a straight in, only 20% left to be counted there. Wellington Central, Linda, some progress. A progress report indeed. Let's have a look at it. Well, yes, it's looking healthier for Marion Hobbs. We are now predicting a Labour win. She's about 2,000 votes ahead, and that will be pleasing to Marion Hobbs. Sad news for Richard Prebble. He put in quite a big fight there, although, as he said earlier, he won't concede. He is going to look for the special votes on that one. It is proving to be a marathon night for Jeanette Fitzsimon. She's still there waiting, still intently looking at the screen. Jeanette, have you heard any more from the booths you're expecting good results from?
Well, I've just had a call from one of our people who's down in the returning officer's office, and he says that with all booths now counted, but not the hospital or the special votes, that we're 19 votes ahead. I find that hard to square with the previous result being 300 behind. It may come down to the arithmetic, but it's quite clear that whatever happens now, we're not going to have a final result tonight. It's going to be 10 days or so. It's going to depend on the special votes, and that means that the future of another 5 people in the Greens is also going to depend on those special votes in Coromandel. So, Nandor, none of you are going to get any sleep tonight, really?
Well, we're still here, but we're still really optimistic as well. We know that we are going to do really well on those special votes. I know a lot of people have enrolled in this last week, and I suspect that a large number of those will be Green voters, so I'm fully confident that we'll see ourselves over the 5%.
Have you managed to get any kind of indication? Jeanette might know this, I don't know, but when you talk about Sydney and London, have you managed to get any kind of indication how strong the Greens might be in Sydney and London, Nando? Or Jeanette, perhaps you better answer that as the co-leader.
No, I don't think there's been any polling done over there, Paul, so I don't think we do have a lot of idea what those votes are going to be like. But
so, no nice tonight, then, I guess, for any of the Green people. Thank you, Jeanette. Get back to you probably a bit later. We've got, let's have a look at the Labour list now with Nigel and Hugh. Tell us, who is in the list? Who are we going to see in Parliament?
Well, I hope we can tell you, because last time we had a computer glitch, you may recall, but we... Thank you very much. Yes. What we're going to do is we're going to show you the Labour list, we're going to take out the winners, and then we're going to see who's left on the list. So here's the Labour list in front of you. Let's take out all the people who've won seats, and it seems, touch wood, to be working. Now we'll take out the people we're predicting to going to win seats after the finals have been declared. And now you can see we're taking out a whole swag, and now this does seem to be working. And now let's go down the list as far as it goes and fill in, because we're predicting that Labour's going to have 11 places, and you can see that's going down, not quite as far as Ashraf Chowdhury as we thought last time, but to Luli Tuoti.
Because I noticed that on your list there you had Parakura Horomir, of course, who's won an electorate seat, so Mr Chowdhury might be there.
Great. Yes. Thank you very much for that correction. It's still not working 100%, but it's working much better than it was earlier. A lot around here ain't working 100% at the moment. After 6.5 hours, no wonder.
Yes.
A lot of new faces, though, there, Nigel, you can see.
Eric George. And this is going to have a really interesting effect on the composition of the House, because, of course, there has been a tendency of political parties to put minorities, Maori, Pacific Islanders, quite far down their lists. And when you reach this far down, of course, look, there's Eru George, there's Luli Tuioti. You're going to bring new blood into Parliament and a new composition of Parliament. And I think that that's one thing the people have liked about MMP, that Parliament has become more representative of the multicultural New Zealand that we are.
All right.
Which would be one of the disappointments, perhaps, if Parliament's numbers did go down. Albany final, I think.
No, let's have a look at National's list and see where they're up to. Nigel, take us through it.
OK, here are the people who've won, who've had finals for the following seats. We will take them off the list. There's Jenny Shipley, Bill English, of course, Maurice Williamson. And now, of course, there are a whole lot of people on the list that we're still expecting to win. Brian Neeson. And now let's go down the list. By my calculations, National will have a list of 19, and that's going down. Now, this is really interesting. Catherine O'Regan will get back into Parliament, and poor old Mark Thomas just misses out.
No, Mark Thomas will be there because Don McKinnon won't be there, and his name is
John McKinnon will be going off to London later on.
So Mark Thomas is in there. Phil Raffles is the one who just misses out. Gee, that's all right, though, because it's very late and you're looking at a lot of things.
And we're feeling generous. And now we're going to have a look at some finals because these are your seats. You want to know whether the person you voted for won. Albany first. Let's have a look. Murray McCulley, National, 4,351 majority. Aoraki, a final now. Albany, we've just seen that. It was lovely to see it twice, though, Norman. Aoraki.
Jim Sutton wins it for Labour. Banks Peninsula is a progress. Who's won that? Ruth Dyson headed for it by the looks of things. The majority quite good. 98% of the vote count. Bay of Plenty, progress. Tony Ryle, you can expect his name there. 34 years old, Mr. Ryle. Most of the vote counted. That's healthy enough for National win.
Christchurch East, let's have a look at that. Tim Barnett for Labour, he will hold that. Christchurch Central. Christchurch East next. And that is also, as we saw before, a Labour win. Leanne Dalzell.
Clutha Southland is the final. Bill English, the Treasurer, soon to be the former Treasurer, winning handsomely for National there. Our old mates in Coromandel, let's have a look at another progress there. And he's still just under 3 votes ahead, too close to call. Dunedin North, Pete Hodgson, a final. He is continues to be the MP, Dunedin North and Dunedin South. You can see David Benson Pope will be carrying that seat for Labour.
East Coast, this is a progress report only, but Janet Mackie is well ahead. The Labour MP there expected to hold on. Epsom, a progress report. Richard Worth pulling ahead now. He is expected to win that seat ahead of Rodney Hyde. Hamilton East, this is a final. Tony Steele, not a big majority, but ahead of Diane Yates on the night.
Yeah, specials could have an effect there too, of course. Hamilton West, we've got a final now. That's Martin Gallagher for Labour. Bob Simcock is defeated by Martin Gallagher. Hunua, a progress report. Most of the votes counted there, 95% of them. Warren Kidd will remain, and Paul Schofield, the British actor who's come over here to contest the seat, he's not in. But Warren Kidd to continue as Hunua MP. Hutt South, Trevor Mallard, he's there, of course. No show without punch.
Kai Kaura. Let's go down south. Linda Scott, a brand new National MP, holds that seat. It's Doug Kidds at the moment. He is on the list only. Whanganui.
It's Jill Peters, yep.
Jill Peters from Labour holds that seat.
Now look at that, but look at that there. Look at that, the independent Mark Middleton, Carla Cardino's stepfather, 3,000 votes as an independent in that seat. So again, that fits in.
It's a good turnout, actually.
It's a good turnout that fits in with what one of the referenda has been saying.
Jerry Brownlee holds the seat of Ireland for National. Good, healthy majority of 6,000. And in Invercargill, well, you can expect Invercargill will have stayed with Labour. Mark Peck, 7,693 majority.
Karapiro will be a National win, and I was trying to think who the... Lindsay Tish, of course, the former National Party president.
And a first-time MP.
Yes. Mangere, the progress there, again, with nearly everybody... Oh, no, that's an Amana, sorry. We've got Mana. Graham Kelly's held the seat of the old Porirua, really, in the western and northwestern parts of Wellington. Mark Thomas, as we said, will probably go in as a first-time MP, a list MP, just get in. So that's a Labour win. Tato Philip Field has won Mangere for Labour. Of course, most of the votes counted there.
Manukau East now. Ross Robertson, Labour MP, holds it with an OK majority. He'll be pleased with that. Namanga Kiki, an interesting result here. No, Manurewa first. George Hawkins, sitting MP, he holds on to it. Now we're going to Mangakiki. And Mark Goshi has taken that seat from Belinda Vernon, who will still be an MP through her party's list.
To Napier, to Mount Albert, Helen Clark, no doubts about that at all. Helen Clark, that mostly counted there. Helen Clark, the MP for Mount Albert, and tonight, Prime Minister-elect. Napier, Jeff Braybrook holds on in Napier. I beg your pardon, Mount Roskill we're going to. Mount Roskill, Phil Goff has held Mount Roskill handsomely.
Now we'll go to Napier.
Now we'll go to Napier. And Napier, Jeff Braybrook holds on. Look at that majority. That's a 10,000 majority. More than 10,000, Jeff Braybrook, MP for Napier.
Nelson. Nick Smith holds on to his seat with a 4,000 majority. Slightly less than he had last time, but perfectly healthy. New Plymouth. Now, Harry Dynhoven territory. It is. He's got a very healthy majority. North Shore. In the North Shore, Wayne Map.
There have been some massive majorities for Labor tonight.
There have been some. It has been a big swing in the electorate seats. Look, we're not talking about the party, but some really big swings. Wayne Map is the sitting MP.
But again, I would like to... Helen Duncan has done tremendously well on North Shore as well. Northcote and Hartley, this is an upset. Ian Revel is gone, and Hartley tonight has won Northcote for Labor with a majority of a mere 200.
Good showing for Grant Gillen there, though, the Alliance candidate, nearly 6,000 votes.
North Shore, that's a progress, but that's all over by the shouting. Wayne Map handsomely in front there. Northland, John Carter, the senior government whip, you would expect him to have held his seat very safely there. And we've got a Tauranga final any second.
And Winston Peters holds his seat with a majority of 323. That will be enough for him. He will be back with about 4.5% of the party vote and 5 MPs.
We will continue to read the results and the late progresses as we have them. We'll come back just in a few minutes with more of Decision 99.
A gruesome discovery.
Sayonara, Miss Ferris.
Sordid secrets.
Why did you lie to me? Not here.
And searing passions.
Well.
Enter a forbidden world.
Go carefully.
I know all about you two.
Did you say lesbian? No, please, I don't want to know.
Where no one can be trusted.
Get the police.
Diana Rigg is the inimitable Mrs. Bradley.
It takes a lot to satisfy me, Inspector.
One's Sunday Summer of Mystery tonight on One.
Lipstick Massage Parlours. For all your massage and escort requirements. Call now for more information on our great deals for escorts. 3 handy locations: Auckland, Manukau and Wellington. Call now.
Peaches and Cream, New Zealand's leading adult website, www.peachesandcream.co.nz. Buy all of your adult products from the privacy of your own home. Ooh, www.peachesandcream.co.nz.
I can still remember the very first sweets given to me by my grandfather. It was Werther's Original, and I was just a boy. I'll never forget that first taste, sweet and creamy and uncommonly good. I remember feeling I must be someone very special when my grandpa gave me his wonderful sweets. Well, now I'm the grandfather. And what else would I give my little grandson but my Werther's Original? He's someone very special too.
Well, we're going to a Hurry of Belmont's progress report. Peter Dunn holds the seat. He's expected to hold the seat. Nearly all the votes counted there. And Wellington Central progress report, I think, is the next. Here we go. Predicting a Labor win.
Yeah, and almost a 2,000 majority there now. Oh, no, that's still about 1,500, isn't it? And, of course, very interesting advertisements on to one with the dirty ads, now the one with the funny ads. So we must be up very late. This is a very long election result process. Otago, a progress. 98% of the vote counted. Gavin Hurley will be the electorate MP there. Otaki progress. Judy Keel will win that for Labor. Again, a majority of about 7,000. We can probably count on there.
Pakuranga. This is Morris Williamson's seat. He holds it, healthy majority. Palmerston North now, a Labor seat. Before tonight, it is after tonight. Steve Mahari holding his majority. Port Waikato now. This is a final result. The new national candidate, Paul Hutchison, goes into Parliament as a first-time MP.
Rakaya, Jenny Shipley will be the winner there. Most of the vote counted, a big majority for Jenny Shipley. Rangatike, a progress report with most of the votes counted. Simon Power, a new National Party MP. Rimutaka, again, Paul Swain has carried his seat. Most of the votes counted.
Let's look at Rodney now. This again is a final. And Lockwood Smith's seat, he holds it with a 6,000 majority, perfectly healthy. Rongotai now. Annette King's seat in Wellington, and she holds it again. It's not a final, it's a progress report, but with that sort of majority, she's home and hosed.
Did you note that Sue Bradford got over 2,000 votes as well in Rodney? Did you do Rongotai?
We did. We're on to Rotorua.
Yeah, Rotorua. So Stephanie Chadwick is the winner there. No doubt about that. That majority is too big to upset with just 5.5% of the vote to count.
And now we're on Tamaki.
And the first we've heard of Tamaki tonight, it has to be said.
Progress report. Clem Simic, Police Minister, of course, no longer, but he will be a National MP. He is expected to hold that seat.
For Taranaki King Country now, Shane Arden maintains his hold. That's a majority of 6,011 for National. That's a final. Taupo will see there that Mark Burton has carried it for Labour. Te Atatu, some progress. Most of the vote counted in Te Atatu. We'll see that in a moment. That's Chris Carter.
Now we're on to Titirangi, another final. End of the evening here for you. David Cunliffe wins that seat from Marie Hassler, the National Cabinet Minister.
I have to say, in Te Atatu, did you see Mrs. Neeson? Vanessa Neeson polled very well.
She did indeed. She actually ran quite a good campaign. Tukitook final now. Let's have a look at that. This is Rick Barker's seat. Will be for a while, I'd say, with that kind of majority.
Nigel, let's look at your Waimakariri. That'll be Clayton Cosgrove, the successor to Mike Moore, and some heavy hitters again there. Ron Mark as well. He's a goner from the electorate there. John Wright as well. But Clayton Cosgrove, healthy Labour majority of 1,252.
Ron Mark, though, I think will just sneak through on the New Zealand First list.
Will he, Nigel?
Yes, it's probably he's almost at the bottom of where they are.
He's fourth or fifth, isn't he?
Yeah. Yes. Anyway, your debating chamber.
Well, let's go and fill up the debating chamber with the seats that we have. The Greens on 4.9, but not winning Coromandel, won't be in. We have 41 national seats, if I remember correctly. We do indeed. 1 United seat, there's Peter Dunn, holding his safe as houses, Ohariu Belmont. 9 ACT seats, Winston Peters with 6. And you can see that that 59th seat isn't filled. And here are the Alliance seats, 11 seats for the Alliance, and the rest of the seats, 52 seats for the Labour Party. And there's filling the rest of the House, 52 for Helen Clark and her party. So we can go up, look back down onto the House.
So a final in Coromandel. Just to come back to you, Nigel, we've got a final in Coromandel. Just about to put it up for you now. It means interrupting the progress of the graphic. And so that is a 412 majority for National. Jeanette Fitzsimons, it might not all be over, however.
Well, that's a substantial majority if you're trying to win it back on the specials, and I must admit, it doesn't look very good. But we won't know for sure until the specials are in. And I want to assure New Zealand that the Green voice will not go away. Whether we're in Parliament or whether we're not in Parliament, we will be working for the same causes that we've been working for 27 years since the Values Party was first formed in 1972.
Thank you. You must have a profound sense of disappointment of being pipped at the post.
Yes, I haven't totally given up yet, but it does look like that.
And to your other candidates, to the two we've seen tonight, Sue Bradford and Andrew Tandosh, other Green candidates around the country, do you have a message for them?
Well, I have to say it was great to see Sue Bradford poll as well as she did after all the dirty National Party attacks on her. For her to come in with 2,770 votes in a seat like Rodney when she was only campaigning for the list vote anyway, I want to congratulate Sue and say people have underestimated her, and I know that she'll carry on working for the things she's been working for a long time.
Jeanette, how much weight has been on your shoulders in the last day or two? Because, of course, we've known for a while that it was really down to you to win your seat, to bring your people into Parliament. Well,
of course, for quite a while now, it hasn't looked like that. We've had about 5 polls, I think, showing the Greens above the 5%. And I guess we took some confidence from that it wasn't all hanging on Coromandel. We also had quite a number of polls showing us with a good lead in Coromandel, 8%, 9% lead in 2 cases. And, well, that's what can happen on election night. And the voters have the say and one can't complain. That's democracy.
Indeed, it is, and it seems doubly cruel that not only do you find that you have insufficient numbers at the end of the night, but you've had to wait half the night to find them out as well. We wish you a good night, Jeanette Fitzsimons, and we'll see what those special votes do. Let's go back to Nigel Roberts. That puts the Greens out of Parliament if that result holds, doesn't it, Nigel?
It does indeed, and one of the interesting things is that, of course, the Greens have about 12,000 more votes than New Zealand First, but New Zealand First, of course, will have 5 or 6 seats, 6 seats in Parliament on our current estimate. And that's one of the oddities of MMP, that a party there scores 4.9% of the votes and isn't in Parliament. A party that scores 4.2% of the votes has 6 members of Parliament. And I think that's one of the things that the review of MMP will undoubtedly have to look at.
All right, Nigel, we'll just bear with us a moment. Nandor, we're coming back to you. What's your reaction to this very late in the night news?
Well, obviously, things are looking tough in Coromandel. I'm still very confident that we can get over the 5% on those special votes, but nevertheless, I think I have to concur with Keith Locke, our candidate, who said tonight that we can all be proud, Green Party members can be proud all around the country, that if we have built a Green movement. We came out of the Alliance with very little, and we've built a powerful Green Party and a powerful Green movement that's significant for this country and around the world, and I think that we can all be extremely proud of ourselves.
Where is Sue Bradford, Nanda? Where's Sue Bradford? Is she still with you? Where is Sue, Nanda?
Sue, unfortunately, Sue had to take off. She's got an hour-and-a-half drive to get home, and she still needs to get some sleep, so she's taken off for the night.
All right, Nando, very nice talking to you this evening, and who knows, maybe those specials could do what does seem to be the impossible. So there it is, the Coromandel final for us again. Let's have a look at the final we have waited for so long tonight. Murray McLean, a majority of 412. So he came into Parliament. He's going to get, by the looks of things, he gets a second term, at least in Coromandel.
All right, let's have a look at some of those other finals. Waitakere, this is actually a progress report rather than a final. Brian Neeson will hold on to that seat. Jonathan Hunt about 2,500, 3,000 votes behind.
You should have West Coast Tasman coming up now. You'll see that Damien O'Connor has won extremely handsomely there in West Coast Tasman. Next one should be Whanganui. That is a final. Jill Peters handsomely winning it for Labour.
Whangarei now. This is a final. Again, Phil Heatley, the national candidate, is the new MP for Whangarei, replacing John Banks. Wigram, a final, no surprises here. Jim Anderton's seat and a healthy majority for him.
Former Chief Executive of the Waipareta Trust, John Tamaheri, one of Labour's bright hopes, comes into Parliament for the first time in the seat, the new seat of Māori seat of Hauraki.
Progress reports now on some of the other Māori seats. Ikaroa Rāwhiti, well, Derek Fox, very close really, 600 votes or 500 odd votes in it, which for an independent is a pretty good fight, but the Labour candidate, Parakura Horomia, is going to take that seat, we would imagine, at this point of the time.
He conceded earlier tonight to Tauhena Reisha. He's gone from Te Tai Tokoro, the Northern Maori seat. Dover Samuels wins that for Labour. Te Tai Tonga, Tuwari conceded, was the first person to concede tonight, and so Mahara Okoroa is the new Labour member for Southern Maori for Te Tai Tonga.
All right, another final, this time Wairiki. Indeed. Tuariki Delamere didn't make it at the end. The Labour candidate wins that seat with a 3,800 majority. So the Māori seat's returning to Labour.
Oh, handsomely. Nobody in that race, apart from Mita Ririnui, really. What do we have? Hugh, Nigel, progress share so far?
Well, let's have a look at the progress share one more time. This has, of course, been the up and down story of the night. The New Zealand First and Greens. It's been an amazing story. And there we see the shares of the votes, both New Zealand First and Green, and of course United well below the threshold. Now let's convert that into seats, and of course we see the story of the night, that the Greens get no seats in Parliament. New Zealand First, because of Winston Peters' victory in Tauranga, will have 6 if that victory is upheld. I think that Nandor Tanshos made a very good point, that of course we've got to remember that there will be special votes for the party vote, and it's the party vote throughout the country as a whole. And my computer has the Greens on 4.89. They have a bit to make up, but it's not a huge amount, and it is possible that they could make it. It's going to be, the country is going to be watching this with great interest until...
Because, in fact, when you add up the 41 seats we're predicting National will get and the 9 ACT seats, and then if you were to add in, what is it, 5 Winston Peters, and, I mean, if the possibility existed that, Richard Prebble could work with New Zealand First, or that New Zealand First could form some kind of an arrangement with a national-led grouping, they've got more seats than Labour can muster with the alliance.
At the moment, of course, the Labour is well ahead. It's 52 and 11, so that the two combined are 63 seats.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say, though, you've got 50. Well, you put New Zealand First 6 onto that, 9 onto that. Do you understand me? That is a right majority that Mr. Peters chose to be right. Because go back again. What these look? New Zealand First is 6. That's 56. ACT is 9. 6 and 9 are 65. 65 beats 63 any day. If people wanted to do that.
That doesn't add up to 120.
No. Paul, it's getting very late. It's nearly 2 o'clock. But
trust him, he's the expert.
Oh, fine, okay.
63 is 63, and in a house of 120, that's always a majority.
Hang on, all right, I'll work on this, but I'm not trying to add it up to 120.
Oh, phew. I think, can we have a look at the referendum results?
Oh, I see.
That's a good idea.
Let's go on. No, damn the referendum. We know the referendum results. So, Nigel, you want to fly over the country, do you?
Well, we can do a weather forecast over the country, and let's see how the country has gone tonight by looking like we do with the weather forecast, and then fly over. And this is the seats, and we mark if there is a difference between the party vote and the electorate vote. And you can see a lot of red in the country. Here's the red tide spreading up through the Wairarapa. There's some blue in Rangitikei, and of course the Labour are getting the party vote there, and continuing up. The country, of course, has elected 41 Labour electorates. That's 41, I mean, it's amazing, out of 67. That's a huge number of electorates. Last time, just to put that into perspective, National had the most seats, electorate seats, and that was 30. And here we're filling in the Auckland seats. If that's not paint the town red with a few little blues, it's incredible.
And that is interesting, Nigel, because in the last couple of days of the campaign, National was putting a lot of store in the fact that Auckland is a little bit more anxious about tax cuts and that they might stay with National.
But you'll notice the Nats. You notice the Nats get the harbour views.
Yeah.
Now to
Christchurch. I wonder why.
To Christchurch, Nigel. What was that?
There's Jim Anderton's seat with a Labour Party vote majority. And, of course, Ilam just behind there, and the 2 seats, Central and East, both going to Labour. And here are the Maori seats, and guess what colour these are going to be? Boom!
Red, 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 red.
And there we are. And, of course, that's what we would have expected. They won all 6 Maori electorates. And Helen Clark, of course, made special mention of that in her acceptance speech, or her speech, the fact that they've gone back to Labour. And now into the debating chamber, and let's see what the predicted seats are at the end of the night. It's been a very long night. Here we are. We'll fill up with the National seats first, because they are still the caretaker government, and here we have 41 National seats. National, despite the setback, is reduced by only 3 seats. 1 for United, 9 for ACT, New Zealand First. Last time there were 17 seats in Parliament. This time, so far, there are 6 before special votes are counted, 11 for the Alliance, and then the amazing 52 seats for the Labour Party, well ahead of National's 44 that it got last time. And so if we pull up above the Speaker's chair, look down onto the House, and there's the summary. 52 and 11 is 63. 41 and 9 is 50, and you add in the other 7 seats, New Zealand First, 6 and United, you of course have 57. So that the fact that the Greens have disappeared because Coromandel wasn't won by Jeanette Fitzsimons actually had that ironic consequence of strengthening the Labour Alliance share in the House.
All right, well, the referendum, fewer MPs, yes, said 82% of you, no, said just 18% of you.
And that hasn't really changed all night, has it? That's like a significant vote, and...
not binding, need to say, not binding.
Exactly. Tougher sentences, 92% want the criminals dealt to, and again, only about 4.3% of the vote left to count. So now we can present you a closing summary. Well, I'm not familiar with what the closing summary is going to be. Oh, well,
this is a little bit of excitement. Roll
tape,
tape,
says the director. Roll tape.
Election night.
Is that a poodle on your tie?
That's a sheep.
If I miss, I miss, and, you know, life goes on, and I'll have to apply for John Hart's job.
So far, the swing is not big enough for us to take the seat.
This is wildly exciting.
I need to consider my own future, and I tell you what, I don't think it's going to be politics. This is too hard. I'd sooner be on the bottom of a Canterbury ruck than this stuff.
We don't want to be overconfident until the votes are all counted, but the polls have been looking good, that's for sure.
Look, National's been around a long time. We'll take our medicine. The voters sent a message. What I want National to do now is sit down, have a look at what went wrong.
And, you know, generally remind me what a scummy, nasty profession it was.
There's no comfort in Labor tonight, and this thing won't be decided tonight. It'll be decided on the specials.
Yes, I think it shows that it's going to be a close race right through. We've been predicting a Green win.
Are you here as the Alliance leader or the next Deputy Prime Minister, Mr Anderton?
Well, that'll be up to Helen Clark and I tomorrow, but I'll tell you what, there's been a change of government.
Oh! I can't believe this. It's amazing.
But I can announce that we have just won Wigram again.
People have voted for the party, both in the electorate and on the party list. But, hey, that's life. You know, life's a bitch and then you die.
It appears that New Zealand has decided that it's time for a change. You may be interested to know that this evening I have spoken to the Right Honourable Helen Clark and have warmly congratulated her on her success.
It's been a campaign from hell.
And we are already guaranteed to have more members of Parliament after this election than we went into. So we are one of the winners in this year's election.
There's a famous New York Yacht Club unofficial saying that old age and treachery beats youth and inexperience.
Well, it looks like we're going to have a new government. We're going to start building that tomorrow when I meet with Jim Anderton.
I think Helen's going to prove a very superb Prime Minister, leading a Labor-led government.
It looks like after all this waiting, it's yours, Prime Minister, first elected Prime Minister of New Zealand.
I think so, and I feel very humbled by that.
But around 11:30, the Prime Minister rang me, and I thank her for her call. She was very generous in what she said.
No, I'm definitely not conceding. It's too close to call yet.
I get the feeling that from here, my life might change quite a lot. That our country is back on track, espousing the kinds of values that we grew up with: a fair society, good education, good health system, dignity in retirement, and an absolute commitment to a growing economy which shares opportunity and work.
Finally, can I, on behalf of the family, thank New Zealand for the opportunity that we have had. It is a great privilege to lead your country, and I know that not only I, but the children in Burton have done our best to serve New Zealand well during these last 2 years. I have to tell you, I could not have done it without their love and care, and I intend to continue to do it. Indeed, all of us give you our commitment to work as hard as we are able. I didn't want to be the leader of the opposition, but I do intend to relish the role and to continue to uphold National Party values and do the best we can to hold the Parliament to account so that this country continues to move forward. Thank you very much indeed.
We're on the cusp of a new century, and we can have a fresh start. And I stand before you humbled that our party has again been chosen to lead a fresh start for New Zealand.
I stand before you humbled that our party has again been chosen. The words of Helen Clark, Prime Minister-elect tonight. The election, as predicted, won by a Labour Alliance coalition. Quick good nights from Nigel Roberts and Hugh Morton.
Good night from me.
Well, I've fought more elections than any member of Parliament now that Bill Birch has retired, other than Jonathan Hunt. And I've never done an election broadcast that's gone on this long.
No, it has been arduous, but it's been a dramatic night, hasn't it? We've had Coromandel, we had the thrill of Coromandel and the heartbreak of Jeanette Fitzsimons at the end. But again, having said that, well done to Murray McLean for hanging on there. I think he was rather put in it from what I heard from him with the postcard. We've had Wellington Central, tremendous battle.
And let's not forget Tauranga, with Winston Peters winning by 300 votes.
A massive majority slash, but nevertheless, Winston in the end, his hands on his face, driving away in his car. It's been a hell of a day, a hell of a campaign. Ikura Rafiti, we must say a word about that as well. Derek Fox, the Independent, tremendous
A valiant
showing.
campaign, but not quite good enough.
But tremendous showing when there's been such a return to Labour in those Maori seats.
Can I tell you too before we go that of course tomorrow night's One Network News is an extended bulletin, an hour and a half. Paul and I will both be there on set interviewing the leaders live. We will be interviewing them of course after those crucial talks between Helen Clark and Jim Anderton, so do join us for that special edition of One Network News.
But the way things are at the moment, you're going to bed tonight knowing that Labour have got 52 seats, National 41, Alliance 11, Act 9, New Zealand first appear to have 6 at the moment, and United, Peter Dunn, he's safe in there from Oharia, Belmont, the richest seat in the country with 1 seat.
And as of this week, you pay a lot more tax.
Yes, that's right. And I believe that stress has contributed to the way things are at the moment. This was Decision 99 from all of us. Everybody involved, thank you for watching.
Good night.